Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Colonial versus Modern, where we take a look at modern kitchen appliances and compare them to what colonists would have been working with in their own colonial kitchens. I thought we would start this first episode by looking at something we probably all take for granted, until it breaks at least, the refrigerator and freezer. Although machines and experiments were being done in the mid-18th century by men such as William Cullen, who invented what would become the basis of the modern refrigerator, it wasn't until about the mid-19th century that commercial refrigeration took off, and it's not until the early 20th century that refrigeration becomes available to the household for domestic use. In the 18th century, colonial backcountry families would have used spring houses or cellars, or both, to store their perishables. But neither one of these would keep food for as long as our refrigerators do today, or keep them as cool as our refrigerators do. While some families may have built their cellar underneath their house, making them easier to get to, others would have located them separate from the house. Cellars were where many people put excess vegetables, fruits, and nuts. The other option, of course, would have been a spring house, where people often kept their dairy, meat, and sometimes even their fruits. The nice thing about the spring house was it kind of had a dual function, in that by building a structure over the spring, the natural occurring spring, you could keep debris and stuff out of your water, while at the same time that cold spring water flowing through the building cooled the structure, allowing you to have a constantly cool place even in the hot summer months. In the early to mid-19th century, there were many designs and experiments with artificial refrigeration. Only a few of them will be mentioned here, but in 1834, Jacob Perkins built a vapor compression refrigeration system that worked on a loop, which meant that it could constantly operate. In 1856, James Harrison created the first practical vapor compression system. This system was operated off of ether, alcohol, or ammonia. He introduced his system to breweries, meatpacking houses, and other commercial venues, kind of kicking off refrigeration for commercial use. Although domestic refrigerators became available in 1913, they were not very common until about the 1930s. This was because the gases that were used were toxic, flammable, and corrosive, making any possible leaks extremely dangerous to have in the house. However, between the 1910s and 1930s, there were some very important advances that were still being made in refrigeration. Alfred Meadows invented the self-contained unit, which was bought out by William Durant, the founder of Frigidaire. In 1922, the absorption refrigerator was invented by two Swedish inventors, Baltzar von Platen and Karl Monters. In the 1920s, freezers also began being included as an option. The most important advancement for refrigerators in the household, though, was the invention of Freon to replace those hazardous gases that had previously been used. Of course, Freon was later banned for its role in creating a hole in the ozone layer. After World War II, separate freezers, known as deep freezers, became common, and by the 1950s and 60s, we start seeing automatic defrost and ice making becoming available in freezers as well. So you can see we've got a lot of advancement in the past 200 years that I think we can all be thankful for. So the next time you find yourself standing in front of your refrigerator wondering what to eat, be thankful you have the option of those cold or frozen foods. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.